I'll call this meeting to order, and the first agenda item we have today is an update on the North Murfreesboro Greenway Trail. We are very, very happy to have Peter Kerr, the project manager with the Corps of Engineers, to update us on what's going on. So, Peter, we'll turn it over to you.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. So I'm here today for all of you committee members to answer questions and to provide an update on basically the final plans that the Corps is going to be constructing for your greenway. So if you guys can see your screen on right now, these are the final plans and specs that we have advertised for bid for contractors to come out and take a look at. And these are published on basically our website for them to come rate. We've already done our site visit. Bids are coming in properly, and we expect to, apologies. Good Lord. Anyway, we expect the contract to be awarded no later than the 30th of this month. So within 2 weeks, the contract will be awarded. For legal reasons, I cannot tell you at this time what the final bid is. My apologies there. However, I can tell you that we had $2.2 million authorized for this project, for this phase of the Greenway. And so that means that all bids are going to be less than that.
Okay.
So I guess I'm here to answer any questions that you would have, but let me walk you through basically a couple of overview designs at about the 10,000 foot level. And if you want to dive in deeper,
okay,
for example, at certain locations of the trail, we can do that.
Okay, and when do we start with, and I'll let you head on, but distance-wise, what are we looking at additionally right now?
About 2 miles, sir.
2 miles, okay. Go ahead.
That is 2 miles paved pedestrian trail and some refurbishments, some minor improvements made to the existing equestrian trail.
Okay.
So what we have on screen right now is the 10,000 foot view of the final trail. So if I zoom in here a little bit, you should be able to see the parking lot from phase 1 is just off the bottom of your screen.
Okay.
And the pedestrian trail is going to connect with the phase 1, not at the parking lot, but just up the path from it. So if anyone's familiar with the site, the phase 1 trail you can see heading off to our right here. I believe my cursor is visible. And so we're going to build a connection here to the phase 1. So if folks want to continue from Walter Hill Park all the way up, they are most welcome to do so without having to divert to the parking lot where the equestrian trailers and things like that are parked. There are a few geological constraints that we have to work around in the first basically mile of the trail. If you folks are familiar with it, if you've been out there are some very steep banks down to the stones. So we've tried to keep the pedestrian trail as close to the water as we can to provide the best aesthetic value. There are a couple of points, however, where we can't really do that just because it would be too expensive for the contractors to cut through the rock that's there. The equestrian trail, we have to work around as well. A lot of that was built, especially on the first half mile, straight on rock. Ideally, the contractor will be laying down excess dirt and ground up trees in terms of mulch on top of those rocky areas to provide a better footing for the horses. So is there any spot in particular on this first little dive in that has your curiosity? The trails will be right alongside each other. So you'll have equestrian trail and pedestrian trail basically mirroring each other. There will be a fence in between them to provide safety barrier.
Okay, so there is some separation with the fence.
Absolutely, sir. Okay. Moving a little bit further up, we're going to have a crossover here. That is again part of there's a grading concern here. That's why we had to cross over. So the thick line is the pedestrian trail. So here the bank slopes down towards the river. That's a pretty aesthetically pleasing part of the trail to walk. And so we've routed that down close to the water where people can enjoy it. The equestrian trail moves to the left of the pedestrian trail. So horseback riders who are, the horseback riders get closer to the river at the first part. When we swapped them over, again, it would have been a major constraint for us in terms of grading and basically the rock content at that particular point, so we had to do it this way. If we move a little bit further up, you'll see there's another changeover point here. That is where the grade, again, increases steeply away from the river, and so we had to swap it back.
Are there any overlooks along this route that, like we have on the first leg?
Yes, we've actually designed kind of a picnic and family gathering spot. There will be a horse hitching post there as well, in case any of the equestrians wish to, stop, tie up their horses, walk down to the river. That is located up here at the top of your screen. Okay. And I've brought some zoomed in, basically design drawings of what that will look like, and we can get to that in just a moment if you'd prefer.
Yes, just go ahead and stay on your schedule.
Okay. So initially the plan for this route was just a straight line, point A to point B, just one straight line. However, when we did the original budgeting for this, we decided that we would have a little bit of excess funding for this. If we did not use that up, it would go straight back to Congress. Obviously, we'd like to keep that funding here in Murfreesboro. So in coordination with Rachel and Nate from the Parks Department, the design was altered to include a loop. So it's a narrow loop, but it still is a loop, and it will use up that excess funding and provide, again, a longer trail for Murfreesboro citizens to enjoy. So you can see that here. Like I said, it's narrow, but it stays within the limits of the core property and the property that I believe the city of Murfreesboro would like to annex. It will not tread on any water department property. That was a concern that they had raised. They had asked us to avoid, and we have acquiesced to that. But I guess at this time I can zoom in a little bit further. Looking for one particular, here we are, I believe. Okay. So if you'd like a more zoomed in version of this, I've brought quite enlarged design drawings. But this is what your overlook would look like. And let me see if I can blow this up just a little bit more for you. So this is the overlook point, family picnic area, whatever you'd like to refer it to, but it's about 3/4 of the way down the trail, so you're at a mile and 3/4, for example, and it's at a very aesthetically pleasing curve in the river. So if you get there, you'll see a big rock wall in front of you on the other side of the river. There are currently like equestrian paths down to the river, and folks have, when we've been out on site visits, folks have been down there fishing, enjoying themselves. So this was identified as a spot where we'd like to basically have a little bit of community functionality here. So again, you'll see the trails, the equestrian trail here, narrow, and the pedestrian path, the wider triple black line. They will meet and mingle here, but additionally, there will be, again, sort of a meeting area here. You have a horse hitching post and a gravel area for horses to be tied and secured. Again, there will be a fence at all points where the two trails are close together to provide a safety barrier for pedestrians and equestrians. But this is the only such overlook on the trail at this time. After this, the pedestrian trail starts on its loop, and the equestrian trail continues until the end of the property.
Was there not another site for a potential overlook before we? A little bit of concern, because if you look at our first leg, we've got those overlooks are a good place for me to sit down, and look around, and I see they do get a lot of use. I guess if it's possible to work in some other benches or something, I think that would be a good addition. But
there are spots for benches. There are spots for benches, sir, but in terms of actual overlooks, the hillside is so steep that we would have to do a lot of geotech work to secure that. And again, it's especially in the first mile of the trail, there's not a good spot to where we'd have to build some serious retaining walls. And frankly, the budget for phase 1 and phase 2 are not comparable. We had $5.3 million for phase 1. Congress only authorized $2.2 for phase 2, so we were kind of constrained by that.
Yeah, gotcha.
Okay. I guess, is there any particular spot that you'd like to zoom in or hear more about, or would you like me to continue on to the schedule?
So currently, where does it end currently? Can you scroll to that part?
Yeah, sure. The pedestrian trail or the horse trail?
The pedestrian trail.
Pedestrian trail. So it will loop back upon itself, so let me scroll back up. So it will loop back upon itself, and this is, close to about 1.7 miles down the trail. So this will be an intersection point for that loop. Again, you have the overlook point here. The pedestrian trail will journey basically through the middle of the wooded area. The equestrian trail will follow its current pathing to its terminus point here at the end of the property line.
Okay. I like the loop idea because especially until we are able to extend it, it gives people a way to, to go out and loop back, which is very good. So let's talk about money here for just a second before we get into the schedule. And if by chance there is some money left over, I think it would be very good to be able to plan this next section. We're actively out there trying to get money to fund it, and we think it would help us if we had a plan. And it might be, it might not be a very detailed plan depending on the money, but if we have some idea of the next phase, we think it will help us make it a reality.
So from my leadership, who talked directly with the congressionals, back in 2007 when this was initially being put together, Congress authorized $10.3 million for this project. So we had 5.7 for phase 1, we have 2.2 now. So there's some leftover, obviously.
3.6 is what I have in my head, but I'm not totally sure, but yeah.
I trust your math. So we have some manner of millions left. Unfortunately, that money has not been allocated to the Corps, and we have not heard any news from any congressionals that that's going to happen anytime soon. The Corps cannot spend time doing design work without congressional funding.
Okay.
If the city has time and has time to, say, mock-up drawings, they are more than welcome to do any effort by themselves. Unfortunately, we are completely constrained by what Congress allows us to do.
Okay.
The money is authorized, but until it gets delegated to the Nashville District, we're stuck.
Okay, so let's go to Plan B, if there's any extra money. Was there anything on Phase 1 that we didn't do that we wanted to do? And you may not have that answer now, but it seems like we might have gotten a little short and maybe didn't do an overlook or something, but is it possible with this money to be able to go back to Phase 1 and do an improvement or something? Is that authorized?
So we have to file a letter report to Congress to explain how we're going to use this money. Mm-hmm. So when we filed this letter report, it was explicitly sent back to us from Congress that you were only allowed to use $2.2 million for improvements to basically the layout for Phase 2. However, in case there was any design inefficiencies or minor repairs that needed to be made with Phase 1, I went out with Rachel and Nate from the Parks Department and we walked the entire length of Phase 1. They were pleased with how it's held up over time. We did not identify any immediate or even minor repairs that needed to take place, but we are again stuck with the $2.2 million only on this Phase 2.
So none of that can be used for another overlook on Phase 1 or something like that?
No, sir. And if I'm brutally honest here, I think that, given what I know about the contracting process right now, I fully expect all of that 2.2 million to be completely consumed for the construction of this.
Okay.
So
That helps me answer a lot of questions. Okay, thank
yeah,
you.
the trade-off was, again, the loop or a straight line.
Yeah.
So when I brought this up to Nate, he was in favor of a loop. I believe Rachel was as well. And we would have saved a couple $100,000 by not doing the loop, but we could not use that money to perform improvements to Phase 1.
Okay.
We could only do anything else on Phase 2. And so the decision was made during the design process. Let's do the loop. It's aesthetically pleasing. Exercise is good, right? Mm-hmm. So that was basically the decision tree there.
Okay. Yeah, and I should recognize, too, former Senator Lamar Alexander was incredible at getting this next phase funded. And I'd also like to thank my former boss, Congressman Bart Gordon, who was a very, very good at advocating with our delegation to try to get this money, as well as the next 3.6. So thanks to both of them for getting that done. Good. Go ahead.
Certainly, yes. So in terms of schedule, I'm sure you'd all like to know when you can get your folks out there. The contract will be awarded no later than 30th September of this month. So within the next 2 weeks, we are pretty much guaranteed to have a contract executed. We had several bids come in. For legal reasons, I cannot tell you the financial details of those, but we are moving towards an agreement with one of those. And so from September 30th, the contractor will have 12 months to complete it.
Good. So I'll be able to enjoy the leaves there next fall.
Quite so, sir. This time next year, there will be a ribbon cutting. You all, of course, are welcome. Our district commander will probably come out. He'll have a good time with it. But other than that, schedule is it should be set in stone for that 12 months. We don't see any major design red flags. Nate and Rachel have been heavily involved trying to help us out with access points for the site. We've identified 3 ways for the contractor not to basically ruin the existing parking lot. Mm-hmm. So their setup and laydown area will not be on that nice gravel area that's there currently. So we're well prepared not to disturb the existing greenway. The general public will be able to use Phase 1. That was a pretty strong sticking point for Nate. Yeah. And so we've made some basically alterations to the schedule, and we've had good communication with the contractor so far to be able to keep, and I can show you it exactly. Because this trail is so popular, Nate was concerned that closure of the parking lot completely would decrease usership, and that's a fair concern, yes. Definitely. So the parking lot, a portion of the parking lot will remain open for public use, and they are more than welcome to gain access to the trail from the normal parking lot to Phase 1. The horse trail will be closed during construction because improvements will be made to it. When, for example, trees and dirt will be moved by the contractor for grading, that's not going to be taken or hauled off on site. That's going to be repurposed on site for better grading of the horse trail.
Okay.
But yes, the only time that citizens will not have access to the Greenway Trail is when the contractor is specifically operating at this location here. Okay. Just that terminus point, we don't want any safety concerns there. It's just a liability issue that we can't deal with.
Okay. Good. Any questions? Anyone else? Any questions? Audience? Anyone?
I got a question. Is it ADA compliant through the entire section?
Yes, sir. Phase 1, Phase 1 is very hilly, but we've made extra effort on this one to make sure that it is ADA compliant, sir.
I was trying to look at your profiles and it kept going by too quick.
Yeah. I have a drawing here if you'd like to look at it. It's got the contour lines on there. So there's a couple of steep spots, but we're going to have them graded appropriately.
Anyone else? Peter, thank you very, very much for coming and giving us this update. It's a terrific project, and you gave us a lot of good information. So thanks to the Corps for continuing this cooperation and working together to build these very popular trails. So thank you.
Absolutely, sir. My pleasure. I'll hang out unless there's any. I'll hang out afterward in case you would like to have a few more questions with me. These drawings are for you. So if you'd like to take a closer look, we can do that a little later. Thank you all. I appreciate your time.
Thank you. Okay, we'll move to agenda item 2 is an update on Phase 2, Thompson Lane to Cherry Lane. And
I guess I want to kind of give you an overview of several projects that are going on within the area. Thompson Lane is currently in the right-of-way phase. TDOT is in the right-of-way phase with that project. They have around 150, I think, tracks. Isn't that right, David? Something like that, yeah. That they were dealing with. And that process takes time.
Yeah.
I do know that the construction dollars have not been obligated into the 3-year plan as of last April, but that doesn't mean it can't be added maybe next April or the following year. So we're kind of keeping an eye on that. Cherry Lane Phase 3, we have just started the right-of-way acquisition phase, and we're getting it kicked off right now. Cherry Lane Phase 2, we're having some environmental issues that we're having to deal with and mitigate, so we're kind of working that process out right now. And that's also sort of tied with the Quarter Horse Drive. We did a preliminary alignment on that particular route, and there were some issues that we had to address with that as well. I can tell you that currently we do not have money in the CIP for Quarter Horse Drive. It's for the construction. So that will, funding.
I'm sorry, where is that?
Quarter Horse will be the connection from Thompson.
To Siegel?
Yeah.
Soccer parks. I was wondering, so that Greenway extension along that is currently in limbo, or is
that particular section is right now kind of in limbo because of the issues that we're having to deal with regarding the environmental mitigations.
Okay. Well, just to remind everybody, the idea is to go from the Thompson Lane trailhead on a dedicated pedestrian greenway, or what do you call it?
It'll run parallel with a roadway.
But separated.
Yes.
Correct.
A mixed-use path?
A multi-use path, to be correct.
That gets us to Quarter Horse, or basically to that Siegel area.
Yes, it's basically Caroline up to Quarter Horse, then it'll go north and hit Cherry Lane Phase 2 by the park.
To the soccer park,
Yeah.
through the soccer park to Cherry Lane, and then eventually on up to Walter Hill.
Eventually. Now, with Cherry Lane Phase 2 and Cherry Lane Phase 3, we have also incorporated multi-use paths. So, in essence, from the park all the way to Broad Street, you'll have a multi-use path on Cherry Lane.
But hopefully the ultimate goal from this committee is to connect all the so if we do that, then basically our entire system is connected, because we can go from Thompson Lane on up. And then let me ask you a question that I've gotten. Which side of Thompson Lane is this multi-use path going to be on?
Well, from
Thompson, let's say from the bridge. Here's the concern and why I'm asking it. Is if we are, let's say, the Battlefield side, can we go under the bridge there, go on the, if I'm heading toward Memorial, left side of it, so that when we get to Quarter Horse, we don't have to worry about getting people across Thompson Lane?
Well, I think we talked about this last time. From Broad Street, it will be on we're going to say the east side of the roadway, because there are constraints on the west.
The city side of the road?
The city side, yeah, the city side, versus the Battlefield side, because there's constraints with the Battlefield.
Okay.
All right, we will go down to Hooper Bottom. Okay?
Okay.
Hooper Bottom is going to have a box culvert under the roadway.
I got you, yep.
That can be utilized to cross the road, and then the multi-use will be on the north side of Thompson Lane coming around.
All right.
Now, we will have signalization with pedestrian features so that we can cross the roadways, along that corridor as well. So
Okay.
we're looking at different options of
Okay.
of how we manage that pedestrian movement.
Good. Okay, I'm sorry to interrupt. Go ahead.
No, but
Yeah.
we're looking at, there will be a signal added at, is that Leanna right there, that T?
I think so.
We'll be adding a signal at Leanna and possibly, and we're actually looking at the warrant analysis right now for Caroline Park. So with that, you'll have your pedestrian elements that can cross the street.
Okay. But if you didn't want to cross at grade and you wanted to start at Thompson Lane, you would just go through the box culvert at
That will
Upper Bottom.
continue the multi-use. Now,
Yeah.
the sidewalk will continue on the south side of Thompson as well, so there'll be a 5-foot sidewalk. On the north side, it'll be a 10-foot multi-use.
Okay. Okay. And schedule-wise, I know you went through a little bit of it. Are we?
Well, they're currently in the right-of-way phase, and again, they're dealing with 150 property owners. I'm not really sure how far along they are. The construction phase is currently not funded, and TDOT posts a 3-year plan every year around April. This last April, the construction was not identified in their 3-year plan. That doesn't say that next year it could not come up in year 2 or year 3.
Yeah.
So it's hard to say right now.
Or you have any?
No questions on that one.
It's safe to assume I won't be enjoying the leaves from that next fall, right? So,
Well, it's around, I think the last estimate was about a $56 to $58 million project.
it's a very big project, and thank you and the staff and the city for, these things don't just happen as far as the multi-use paths and making them pedestrian friendly and all of those things. It takes a long time and a lot of planning, so thank you for doing that.
Sure thing.
Anyone else have any questions on? All right, thank you. So the item 3, Greenway Natural Resources Project Overview, and Kristen Hopkins is going to give us that.
Hello.
Hi.
All right, we've got a few things going on. First, I just want to update you guys on our cleanup data like I did last time. We've had a lot of community support and community help with cleaning up our greenway and waterways. It's needed. There's always trash there, unfortunately. So in 2020, we had 98 volunteers help us pick up almost 2,000 pounds of trash from our greenways mostly, and from our other parks as well, including Murphy Springs is a big one. So far this year, we've had 43 volunteers help us pick up over 3,000 pounds of trash. And just for a little perspective, the vast majority of the trash is like a half ounce, an ounce. It's plastic, very lightweight stuff. So that's a lot, if you think about that. So, but the community engagement continues, and it's really nice seeing people get out there and care about these things. So. Also, we had a pretty cool project from Cannonsburg where Town Creek comes into Lytle Creek. From that point over to almost Main Street on that leg of the Greenway, we had a company called Invasive Plant Control come out, and that's all they do. They just remove invasive species. And they really cleaned up that whole section. Not only are we concerned with our riparian stability and our riparian integrity ecologically, but also safety in that area. So that this is really helping us kind of clean up that area, clear it up. There's high visibility now, and we will just continue to work on keeping that cleaned up. We're working with the street department on leveling the trees and things. So it looks really good. So. And then a couple of other things, the pollinator plot that we installed at the Old Fort Parkway Greenway area, that's in its first year growth. That was partially funded by the Rutherford County Soil and Conservation District, and it's looking really good. So next year, we'll hope to see more wildflowers coming in there. And then our last project on the Greenway is we are working on half-acre pocket prairie. It's on the new section of the Greenway, actually, where if you're coming from Barfield, you go right under Veterans Parkway, and it's right there on the left. It's a little pocket prairie. We're just doing site prep, getting all the Johnson grass and other yucky stuff out of there. So we'll be working on planting that probably in the spring. So that's it, all I've got, so.
Good. Any questions? Well, thank you. The programming and everything continues to be great. And I need to mention, too, I'm sure most of you saw it, but Scott Broden in the Daily News Journal did a great story on the Greenway the other day. And Scott discovered, too, that next month is the 25th anniversary of the first dedication of the Thompson Lane Trailhead. So we've got a 25th anniversary coming, it looks like. So. And we've had a lot of good users. So number 4, Greenway Art Festival, Lisa Browning.
Very much.
Thank you, Chairman
Thank you.
Seiler, right? Is that
Yes,
correct?
yes, thank you.
Lisa Browning, and I'm in charge of the Greenway Art Festival this year. It's our 17th annual festival. So it's at Old Fort Park once again, a favorite place on the Greenway. We're going to be having 70-plus booths for the artists. That includes arts organizations. We're going to have MTSU coming out and having an art installation. Our theme is Celebrate Hope, because we need to do both. We need to celebrate, and we need to have some hope out there. And that's just what we're doing with our theme also for the laureates who are going to be participating in some performances. And their theme is the Hope Effect. So we are organizing a collaborative art project for children, and also MTSU is on mosaics, which symbolize the coming together of fragmented and broken pieces and how we can all come together as a community and make something beautiful. So we're going to have a lot of food trucks, some good yummy stuff for everybody to eat, and also Miss Pokey's Lemonade, a favorite to the festival, is going to be there. Kettle corn classic, and Blue Monkey ice, and lots of good things. About 4 different entrees are going to be there. We are going to have performances throughout the day, starting at 10 o'clock all the way to pretty much 4. We're going to have the dancer laureate come out with her dance troupe and perform for us as well. And some wonderful jazz music, some cover bands. Tennessee Valley Winds is also going to be there. And we're expecting a fun time, and we want to invite you all, and bring your friends, and I can provide you this lovely poster to put out wherever you want. And so anyway, we hope to see you there and your families.
Well, thank you. That's been a terrific program for many, many years. And our fellow committee member, Dan Charley, couldn't be with us today, but Dan sells art there occasionally, and I think he actually did the print for one of the things one year. It was his artwork, so the committee really enjoys that.
Well, good.
So,
good. Well,
thank you.
Thank you for having us.
Thanks. I think that's all the things on the agenda. Anyone have any new business that we need to discuss? And Mitzi, I think we'll be dealing with the minutes from the last meeting at the next meeting, since we've got Anita Pirtle, I should recognize, has resigned to pursue other things. And I'd like to thank Anita for many years of work on this committee. So we'll be replacing Anita here soon, and get some of our other members back. So, Troy, I will entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
We are adjourned.